Hi, I'm Reverend Kim Wood. I serve as the conference minister for the Southeast Conference of the United Church of Christ. Welcome to our weekly Lenten meditations, parables, and questions. Today, I'm sitting in a room with a white brick wall behind me and a tall green plant beside me. I have an oval face, brown curly hair, light skin, and blue eyes framed in gold rim glasses. I'm wearing a sage green sweater with 3 buttons and ties that hang down the front. This week, we'll focus on Matthew 14, verses 7 through 14, the parable of the invited guests. The religious leaders are continuing to watch Jesus closely, and he continues to dispute the tenets they hold so closely under the guise of faithfulness. He has once again broken their closely guarded mold by healing a man with dropsy, or what we know as severe edema, on the Sabbath. When he asks them what they would do if it was one of their family members or even their precious livestock, they find themselves once again stuck between the rock and hard place of following the religious tenets and showing compassion and care. Jesus then proceeds to his destination, the home of one of the Pharisees who has invited him to join them for a meal. I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition of the Bible. When Jesus noticed how the guests chose the places of honor, he told them a parable. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down at the place of honor in case someone more distinguished than you has been invited by your host. And the host who invited both of you may come and say to you, "Give this person your place." And then, in disgrace, you would start to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down at the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. He said also to the one who had invited him, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, don't invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, in case they may invite you in return, and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." I invite you to reflect on this parable and to explore these questions. There are a lot of counting things that go on in society and in the church: counting wealth, counting belongings, counting position, counting offerings, counting number of people in worship, and on the rolls. How does counting play a role in our relationship with God? And what gets counted? Jesus describes an expansive hospitality in this parable. In our lives and in our churches, how do we measure up to Jesus' idea of welcoming strangers and creating space at the table for those who may not know or believe that they are invited and welcome? And finally, what are some ways that we might bring Jesus' teachings of hospitality, inclusion, compassion, and justice to fruition in our lives, in our churches, in our communities? I hope that your explorations of this parable add to your Lenten quest to better understand Jesus' teachings as we prepare for Holy Week and Resurrection Sunday. And I hope that these questions provide some opportunity for deeper reflection into your own call to follow Jesus. May this season of Lent continue to be a space for you to both reflect and be challenged by the way Jesus has set before all of us.